And then this is back in my biological family. And this is a little bit hard to talk about, but I'll give you the best version of it. I lived in a terrible home. In my room, I lived with my mom was dating an abusive guy. In my room, I had one box spring that I slept on and no mattress. It was a box spring. 3 of the springs were broken.
Oof.
And they were sticking out of the bed. And I had a pillow. I had no sheets. I had no dresser. I had nothing in my room. My room was a carpeted room with a box spring. And then I had some books in there that I would steal from the library at school.
Right.
And that was my house. Terrible home, very abusive. They were doing drugs out of the home. Didn't feed me very often. I was very, very small. And they had taken my older brother out of the house. The way the system works in New Mexico is really weird. CPS came and they took Colin out of the house, but for some reason left all of us. There's 3 more kids there.
That is out of control.
Yes, and they left us there, and they said that we needed like family counseling. I'm like, well, why does he get to leave?
Yeah.
So I felt abandoned, and once he left, I became the oldest, and so I got the brood of the stuff, man.
Sure.
It was terrible, terrible. And I would lay in my bed at night and just daydream, man. And I was going to church. You know what I mean? There's a lady that would take me to church still, so I got to go there. And that was my escape. And I just remember like just praying. I'm like, just get me out of here, like just praying to God, man. And literally not in the way they do in the movies. I literally thought I was speaking to this person that was going to save my life.
Sure.
And you know what I mean? I'm 10, 11 years old.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting in my room and the abuse is going on and I'm getting poked by the springs in the bed. And I had a bedwetting problem because I didn't feel safe in my home.
Right. Yeah.
It was a nightmare, man. And I was barely getting fed. There was a point where I accidentally pricked my toe I was climbing out of a window one day and I stepped on one of his, like, it looked like a bag that was like, that you would put like bathroom stuff, like a carry bag.
Yeah.
But they had drugs in there.
Oh.
And I stepped on it one day going out a needle and I got high off that needle, whatever it was in there as a child. So I got out and I remember just being all like confused about why I felt woozy. To this day, I don't know what was in that.
Sure.
Stuff like that. So I'm like literally like living in this family like this and just praying and just like for a year, for probably longer than a year. But I remember this specific year when I was just waiting because I would go to church and I'd just be patient. If it's not happening, it's because it's not meant for you yet. And I got mad, man. I got really mad as a kid. And I'm why? Like, why would I be here? I started questioning my life, man. And I remember one day just going like, there's no one there. There's no guy there.
Sure.
There's nothing here. I'm going to do something. And I knew that. I remember this moment where I knew that God wasn't real. And I'm not saying this to offend anyone. This is my version of my story.
Sure.
I knew as a 10, 11-year-old kid that God was not real and he was not coming to save me. And this was my moment where I was like, well, I have to save me because no one's coming back for me. And I'm the oldest and I'm 11. I shouldn't be thinking this stuff. Right. And so I remember thinking, I got to get out of here. I'm not strong enough. And I started getting strong enough. I would go to school. I would literally train my brain to deal with difficult things. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to go here. I'm going to go that. And I would channel these characters that I'd seen in movies or read in these books.
Sure.
And I got out, man. I ran away one day and I went to the FYU shelter here in town. And I said, they're abusing me there. I'm not going back. They said, we got to take you back. That's not how the shelter works. This isn't like an open door place. I said, you guys take me back there. I'm leaving again. I would rather you take me to jail.
Oh, wow.
And I said, well, because they kept telling me that if you don't go home, you're going to jail. I was 11. I was like, take me to jail. I'll get 3 meals in jail.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I'll get a bed.
You'll almost feel safer.
Out of it. Yes.
Yeah.
So I told them, take me to jail. And they said, and I think they were saying as a scare tactic, you can't take an 11-year-old kid to jail for running away from home. They took me back home. And I said, if you take me back, there's a good chance this guy's going to kill me. And they took me back. Ran away again. Police picks me up because I don't even make it to the shelter this time. They find me sleeping in a bush. Ran away from home. That's the next morning. So I was on the run overnight. It wasn't too long. Cops picked me up and I said, please take me to jail. And they're like, what's going on? I said, I swear to God, they already took me home once. If you take me back there, they're going to kill me. Take me back again. And soon, literally as the cops dropped me off, I'm back in my room and out the window before the cops are still there. Take off again, go back to the FY shelter a third time. Or second time there, third time running away.
Right.
And I walk in and they're like, this fucking kid again. And I was crying. I said, you guys cannot take me back there. And there was a counselor. I'll never forget his name. His name was Mr. Hess. And I'll leave his first name out. Terrible social worker. He was saying like, your family loves you. We just talked to them. I'm like, dude, come on. Like, like, what do you guys want from me? And yeah, at this point, I'm slowly losing all my faith in all religion and stuff.
Sure.
And I told that guy, I said, so this is how crazy it was. They didn't care. And I said, if you take me back there, he's going to kill me or I'm going to end up killing myself.
Yeah.
And apparently that's the thing to say when you're a young kid.
Yeah, that's that trigger.
So then they were like, oh, like, and they called another professional in and did a psych eval, and they let me stay in the shelter, man. And from there, it was years of going through court hearings to get their rights terminated. But that's why, right? And I'm not saying for anyone listening, you shouldn't believe that, but that's why I don't. Right. I just know that nothing was ever accomplished
by praying.
And by faith and hope and love.
Right.
Like I had to get up and do those things. And I have those things in me now without being spiritual. I have faith in people, myself. I have love. I inspire. I have hope.
Yep.
Like I have all those things. To me, my personal belief is that we do those things.
Yep.
And again, I don't mean to offend anyone, but that is how I feel. I feel like we are the people. We are the light. We are the ones that love and do all those things.
I 100% agree with you on everything you said. And like, man, that story, that is intense. I cannot believe that they kept taking you home.
And here's the thing. They let me out. Here's the craziest thing. I don't know if you know this, and people that know me will remember this happening. You might remember this, even though we didn't know each other yet. So they take me back to the shelter. After 2 months of being at the shelter, I have an epiphany. They take us on these outings, like putt-putt golf was a thing.
Okay.
So we go out. I ran into a neighbor who said, "Hey man, how you doing?" And I was like, "Good." He said, "Hey, just so you know, like it's getting pretty rough for your brothers over there." And I had this moment. I'm like, "Oh wait, I'm doing to them what was done to me." Like I left them there. I was so happy to get out. And at this time, I'm like 11, 12. It's maybe been a year.
Right.
And I'm like, again, things that 12-year-olds shouldn't be worried about. But I'm like, I'm doing this to them.
Yeah.
And so I leave the shelter in the middle of the night. This is how crazy it is. I run away from the shelter because I told the staff and they're like, you need to focus on you. I'm like, you guys need to go get them out of there.
Yeah.
They wouldn't do it. So in the middle of the night, I made it in my bed, like in the movies, I made it look like I was sleeping.
Sure.
I run away. I walk what ended up being 5 miles. And I know this because it ends up making the news in December, freezing cold, to my house. And I sneak in and I try to get both my little brothers. I essentially kidnapped them. I got my older youngest little brother, and then the other one was an infant. So he was in a crib in my parents' room.
Oh, wow.
So they're in there sleeping. I'm like, I broke into my old house. I'm standing right in front of them. And I can't get the baby. It's too close to them. So I go back to my little brother, Josh. And again, I wake him up. He smells like urine because he's going through what I went through.
Right.
Get him some clean clothes. I said, we're going. And he's like, you came back. And he was so happy to see me. Take him out the window. Go walk 5 miles back to the shelter.
Yeah.
Realize I have no plan on what I'm going to do. I remembered a girl lived across the street from the shelter who was in a TLP program, which is a transitional living.
Okay.
She was our age, still went to Mayfield, but got her own apartment.
Oh, okay.
So I knocked on her door at 2 a.m. with this kid, and I'm a kid.
Right.
And she lets us stay there.
Nice.
And so we go in there, we get a good night's sleep. We wake up in the morning. She says, I have to go to school. She's going to go to Mayfield, but you guys stay here. And I said, cool. I went back to bed, woke up, walk out in the living room, turn on the TV. I'm on every single channel.
No.
National Amber Alert because we're children. 2 missing children. They said young kid kidnaps his little brother was the title. And it was me as the criminal and him missing. And I'm fucking 11.
Yeah.
And they're like, the story was like this kid who's in this youth home for troubled boys, like ran away. No. And I was like, what is going on? It was so wild. The phone rings and it's the girl, and they had played it on, remember the news they would play in high school?
Yeah, like
she's
Channel 1 or whatever.
Yeah, she's like watching it. She's like, those guys are at my house.
Oh, fuck.
So she calls me. Her name was Anna, and she was freaking out. And she's like, you're on the news. I'm like, I know, I'm watching it. And she's like, all right, like just stay there. I guess she freaks out, calls the cops. They send a SWAT team to that house.
A SWAT?
For a child. So I literally, I hear a knock at the door. I look at the people. They have a SWAT team and then a guy up front. And I'm like, and I'm just a kid.
Yeah, you're like 12 years old.
Yes. And so I get my little brother. I take him to the back room. We get in the closet. We put a bunch of blankets over us and we lay there. That was my bright idea to get away with it. Of course, they found us.
Sure.
But yeah, they pull us out of the room. They take off Josh. They cuff me. 12-year-old child. They cuff me, put me in the back of a car, take me to the police station. It's wild. It's a huge news story. They start investigating me, like in a room, just like the movies, ice cold room. Like,
yeah.
Like, what was your intentions? I literally tell them, I say, hey, look, and thank God there's a paper trail.
Sure.
Like, go ask the shelter, talk to them, talk to our neighbors, talk to everyone that knows this. I asked over and over for someone. I asked when I tried to get in the shelter myself, they wouldn't even let me go here. You guys have failed me in every single way.
Yeah.
And I gave them all these things. I said, this is what happened on this date. I said, go to their room, look in this closet. This is where you're going to find the drugs. Go over here. This is where you're going to see where they're growing this stuff. Go over here and you're going to see like this. I gave them all the evidence that they needed. They go back while I'm in the room. They send a team there, find this stuff. They actually take my little brother out of the house.
Okay,
the one that I couldn't get, the infant. They remove him, put out a whole new story day 2. And it's the complete opposite. I'm like this hero.
Oh, okay.
Like young boy saves his sibling.
There you go.
And I'm like, oh my God. And then can you imagine, I was at Zia Middle School at the time and I missed school for a week because of this.
Oh, yeah.
And when I go back to school, there's a standing ovation. I was super confused as a kid. I didn't get it. Everyone's like, you're a hero. And I'm like I was just a kidnapper like a week ago.
Yeah.
And to me, this doesn't feel heroic.
Right.
I feel like the system let me down.
And the system fails people all of the time. And it's so frustrating. Like if I had endless means, I would take in every foster kid I could just because and I'm sure you relate to this, or you do because you've talked about it, but growing up like dirt poor and in rough situations, rough neighborhoods, rough family homes, whatever it may be, like you just want to help. You want to help. Like you see, even like now I see friends in like abusive relationships. I'm all, hey, come here.
Yeah.
You come stay at my house, tell them to get out, or you guys are going to work it out, whatever, but come stay over here for a while. And I just wish that that's the goal, I guess, one day for me is to be able to, I don't know, maybe even like start my own group home or something, like to make sure that everybody has a safe place to be. Like I give you so much credit for who you've become and who I've seen you become because damn, man, that is incredible, wild, huh? Incredible
and
growth.
If you enjoy puppies and you enjoy homes, there's Puppies Without Homes. If you subscribe to this channel, that could help a puppy find a home, I bet, probably. I wouldn't risk it.